were critical for the R&D, they are in this area. So what is happening is, I think what we are getting reports right now is the air bases, but there's quite a possibility that Indian missiles have been targeting other locations also, and it didn't happen in one phase because missile attacks can be actually phased. So maybe we are looking at second, third phase also. So we don't know how long the night is going to be, and so it's going to be a tough night for Pakistan, that's for sure.
All right. And in fact, that also means that we are going to be on high alert. What will this, Major Manik, mean for us Indians in the border states, especially if we were to look at Jammu, Punjab, and of course, even Rajasthan?
Well, definitely high alert, because as the things start to scale up, the kind of operations that countries carry out at successive stages of warfare, they tend to define how serious a country is, how much are they getting for sucked up into the war. Till now, like Pakistan was doing drone warfare, probing and sending small drones, these Turkish drones, and trying to hit installation, trying to cause some damage. They fired some missiles. But given the kind of retaliation India has given, and a strong one, and most importantly, a justified one, Pakistan has a tendency to take stupid decisions. Like somebody mentioned in debate today, and you were also saying, we gave them enough chance to not escalate this. We had hit their terror camps, they should have just left it at that. So now also they have the capability of not taking it up, and they have the choice to do that. But I hope they take that choice and do not escalate it further, because it's just going to keep getting worse for them as the days go. So in that desperation, if they take the other call that we are going to prove something to our people, to ourselves, without realizing the military capability they are dealing with, in their failed sense of pride and all that, they could go for more missile strikes, they could go for air raids, they could go for these standoff air raids, throwing in missiles, they could try and sneak in more terrorists. There's a lot they can do, and the worst part for border areas is that these are the places that will get affected most, because deep inside India is a huge country, and to get into the depth of it requires a lot of capability from Pakistan's side, which they don't have actually. So people have to follow. I think the best thing they can do is follow government instructions. If you are asked for a blackout,
right,
do that, stay inside, and just follow whatever advice comes to you officially.
Well, absolutely. I want to bring in Stephen on that note. Stephen, we also speak on a day when the IMF has decided to go ahead with that additional funding of over $1 billion for Pakistan. So when one is to weigh in on the role that the international community can play, especially the role that these global lending institutions like the International Monetary Fund could have played, one has been also probing the history of Pakistan's reliance on the IMF. What do you make of how Pakistan continues unabated to divert that funding clearly into terror training?
Well, I don't know if they're directing that funding, if they're targeting that funding for terror training. I think that seems to me to be a few steps too far in terms of where
no, but India has presented evidence. India has presented evidence. The fact that the military is playing a very significant role when it comes to crucial economic calls for the country, that is something that India has also presented in its statement at the IMF today. And clearly, a debt-ridden country can't be, harboring terrorism to this extent if their economy is in tatters. So there's certainly some amount of funding which is coming to sponsor that kind of terrorism, right?
Well, I'm certainly not, please understand, I'm certainly not defending any support for terrorism, but nor am I actually a huge fan of the IMF, but the IMF provides support to all sorts of countries, loans to all sorts of countries that commit human rights abuses, that tolerate terrorism, that may even back terrorism, that do all sorts of dastardly things that allow or perpetuate the mistreatment of women, all sorts that commit crimes against other countries. So I'm not justifying any of that, but I don't think Pakistan is alone by any means in terms of receiving IMF support under these circumstances. And I think even if the IMF were to have snapped its fingers and said, we're not going through with this loan, Pakistan's stance towards terrorism would have remained the same. I don't think it hinges on IMF support for other parts of its apparatus. If I may, just one other aspect of what you asked I wanted to address echoes Glenn's point to some extent, in that you are dealing with a very dysfunctional polity in terms of Pakistan, in terms of the military really substantially controlling the government, setting policy, at the same time that it's in some ways ripping off the country through its own businesses, diversion of resources, and the like. And that adds another twist to all this, another complication that makes it even harder to address how dysfunctional the Pakistan government is, not just to the detriment of India in terms of possible support for terrorism or likely support for terrorism, but even more so to the detriment of its own people and the suffering that they've undergone and the lack of relative economic progress that country has experienced over the decades.
Well, absolutely. And those decades have borne testimony to how it is impossible for any civilian government to function as long as the upper hand remains with the army and the deep state. I'm going to request you, Stephen and Glenn, to continue staying with us. Major Manik also stays with us, but in fact, getting in some more breaking inputs coming in. Now, what we are learning from government sources is that after India struck Pakistan, all major cities in India have now been put on high alert, and this is a decision on expected lines. Ayushman Jamwal joins me live from the newsroom with those breaking inputs. Ayushman,
Kausha, that's the latest update that is coming in. Remember, India has now set the doctrine of custom match attacks to give a befitting reply to Pakistan. So in the avenue of the fact that Pakistan could launch another counterstrike, all major Indian cities are currently on high alert. The entire defense infrastructure is on high alert. Also, the air defense systems have been activated across the border to ensure that any misadventure from Pakistan is met with a swift response. So because India, by targeting 3 Pakistani air bases, by hitting the heart of Pakistan, Islamabad, Lahore, Rawalpindi, now in the fear of a counter-attack, India is ready to face anything that Pakistan throws at it, and all major cities are currently on high alert with the entire defense apparatus now activated.
I want to bring in Major Manoj on that. Major Manoj, what is your response now to the fear of escalation? Everybody is talking about it. We heard Glenn, we heard Stephen, and that's perhaps a valid concern now. But I guess India is prepared.
Yeah, we are prepared, obviously, and we are very, this is on expected lines, as you said. I just want to take a moment to reply to what Mr. Stephen said, especially on the fact he has a certain stand on the whole thing. But what I wanted to comment on what he's saying, that irrespective of we give them IMF funding or not, like IMF gives them funding or not, Pakistan's stand on terrorism is not going to change. So here's what I have to say is that you cannot say that a country which has ample resources and some kind of intentions, that logically would want to pursue it and can pursue it successfully. Secondly, you have never denied them funding to know that will they actually stop terrorism if we stop giving them money? Will they use it? And it is a known thing that the infrastructure, the health services, education, everything is defunct in Pakistan. The generals are exceptionally corrupt. The politicians take all the money. They all settle abroad in US, UK, Europe, Canada, and all that. You know that they take the money, but just because they've been doing the bidding for US since 80s, since the time Russian came in, you have refused to comment on the terror. You knew the terror factories are there. You knew where the training camps were established. You knew when Al Qaeda was formed. So you cannot say that, if we don't give them money, they might not change. You never gave this possibility a chance to even experiment with that thought. Today, when you know that India is in such a critical state with Pakistan, and this is now a time to maybe corner them. Fine, I don't say militarily or just kill them all. But the point is, there could have been a spot where the world could have cornered them. Then when will you stop? America found Osama bin Laden hiding in, Pakistan after 10 years of carrying out joint operations. What more proofs do you need that they don't care what you think because they know they'll get your money? So you should have given, the IMF should have given this a chance this time, that we could have cornered them, that we will not support you till the time you mend your ways. But you lost the chance again this time, and it will continue to be the same story, that everybody thinks, oh, they are going to be like this, we give them money or not, so let's give them some more. That's not a, I don't think that's the right way to go. Anyway, coming on the, what originally
Okay.
Akanksha asked, yeah, that the high alert in all the cities is as expected on the lines, because the thing is, one, war is a brutal business. While we are celebrating all our successes, there is a possibility an odd missile might make it through and land on our cities also. Pakistan has been hitting our civil areas by drone and artillery since past almost a week now. So everybody has to be ready for that contingency. It's good to shout that go war, fight, kill everybody, but I mean, there's a possibility that we also might get hurt at some stage. Hence, it's a good decision for government to issue this alert right now.
Okay.
And along with it, the civil administration comes into action and they will issue necessary directions to everyone.
Okay, stay with me. Going to request all of you gentlemen to continue staying with me. Also joined in by Sushant Sareen, who's a senior fellow at the ORF. Sushant, what a morning to wake up to. India's made some massive strategic victories today when it came to, in fact, reducing those 3 air bases to rubble. And we've not just targeted Pakistan's commercial capital, you're looking at the national capital as well. I'd like your thoughts.
Akansha, you are being very presumptive that you thought people went off to sleep last night. I tried to, but within half an hour, I was so restless that I got up, and then I would imagine that
You should have joined in much earlier then. I'm going to hold this against you.
yeah, but the thing is that I just came to the thought that if Kargil was the first television war in India, this conflict is the first. I can't call it a war as yet, but this is the first Twitter or X war in this part of the world. But look, something was being expected because yesterday, when the Pakistanis had attacked, and they've been attacking us, this is the third night that they attacked us. On the second night after they attacked us, we had the press conference yesterday by the Foreign Secretary, and I would have thought that the Foreign Secretary had given them an off-ramp because he spoke in very measured tones, as he normally does. But he said that the Pakistanis had carried out these attacks, and the Indians, we retaliated in 4 places. He didn't say what the scale of retaliation was, but the way he said it, it was that, okay, fine, we've done it. We are not making a big song and dance about it. We are not gloating about it. We're not making a big deal out of it. And this can become an off-ramp for both sides. And that is the impression I got when I was in the evening when I was on your channel. This is exactly what my impression was. And I think Major Jolly was there at that time, if I'm mistaken not. And my impression was that, we've said, okay, fine, let's take this off-ramp. But clearly the Pakistanis have this habit of biting off a lot more than they can chew. And they thought that, obviously some damage must have been done. And just because their attacks have not been successful over the last 3 days, that does not give them a free pass. And the thing is that, so quite clearly, I think the message from the Indian side was that if they are now going to start continuing doing this, then we will also hit back and hit back hard. And I think that is what has happened tonight. A lot of these rumors were actually doing the rounds yesterday, but apparently it's happened today. So I think now we are in a completely different situation because the kind of retaliation India has done, it's very clear that the Pakistanis are going to try and hit back. How will they hit back? The reports, which if we can make some sense out of them, there is that they are going to use their air power and they're going to try and strike at targets inside India. And we'd have to see how the rest of the air defenses, which have performed exceedingly well against drone attacks, how they perform against the Pakistani fighting.
Stay with
Number
me.
one.
All right. Finish the point because I have some breaking inputs coming in.
Number two, are they going to start the use of ballistic missiles? Because then we will also go up. Because so far we have not used any ballistic missile. At least there is no report of that. Even the Pakistanis are saying that all the attacks that we've done is from air to ground missiles.
Yes.
These are fighters and which have been used. And so if the Pakistanis are now going to scale up, then I think the response from the Indian side will be similar.
All right.
So
I'm afraid I'll have to interrupt you there, Sushant, because we have some big breaking inputs coming in. After 3 air bases, India has now hit at the Sukkur airport in Sindh. This is another massive blast in Rawalpindi that has taken place. We can officially confirm this through sources that have shared information with Network 18's Security Affairs editor, Mr. Manoj Gupta. Big breaking input coming in. A 4th blast now as India has hit the Sukkur airport in Sindh. As I must tell you that this is a domestic airport, also known as a Begum Nusrat Bhutto airport. In fact, Ayushman joins me with more breaking information on that. Ayushman, what more details can you share with us?
Absolutely, Akanksha. As we've been tracking all these sites that have been targeted by the air-to-surface missiles coming in from the Indian forces, more information coming in where Rawalpindi has now seen another blast. This is what top sources are telling CNN News 18. Information brought to us by our securities editor Manoj Gupta. Also, as you were pointing out, the Sukkur airport in the Sindh area also now being targeted by these air-to-surface missiles as India unleashes on these particular sites in Pakistan in retaliation to Pakistan's drone attacks along the international border as well as the LOC. So we can just add it to the list of the attacks which are coming in. The Sukkur airport has been targeted in Sindh. In Rawalpindi there is another blast, and as we were reporting earlier, Islamabad, the Noor Khan Air Base, the Murid Air Base, Shekhpura, the Rafiki Air Base, Darawal and Lahore also being targeted by the Indian forces. Air-to-surface missiles deployed when it comes to this offensive coming in from India.
Absolutely. I want to go back to Sushant. In fact, Sushant, before I come to you, let me bring in Major Jolly, who continues to stay with us. Major Jolly, 3 air bases and now a domestic airport. What do you make of the kind of strategic edge that India has displayed today?
It is fantastic. Actually, this is how it should be. If you're fighting a war, it's not a exchange of niceties. You are not expected to it is what India is doing. You take out their bases. Then I just read somewhere that maybe an air battle is fine. This can be all misinformation. But taking out why they are taking out the other airport is because the moment wars happen, there are some airports which can act as a dual capability, civil as well as military. So if you're obviously the planners, I won't get into detail of that. The planners have decided that we are going to demolish or even mitigate any possibility of aircrafts taking off of this region, because whatever their bigger plan is. But we hold superiority. That's the point to note here. The kind of superiority that we are, the word is enjoys actually. India enjoys right now that absolutely no air defense. India is striking when and wherever we want. This looks like a World War II kind of a setup when the smaller countries didn't have air defense and you could go and send missiles everywhere. So this is fantastic position to be in.
I want to quickly bring in Glenn on that note. Glenn, what is your assessment of the way India has hit out at the air bases? Now this domestic airport, what does it speak of not just our defense but also our offensive capabilities and the defense preparedness so far?
Well, so far, it appears that India's modernization program of recent years has been bearing fruit. We have all been reading that it's only in the mid-process and that India was far from having really modernized doctrine, training, and equipment, but at present, it's an impressive performance. I can comment more substantively on the policy implications or objectives. India seems to me to have clear objectives that it's trying to achieve. One, obviously, to stop terrorism. These conventional attacks won't do that, but as a response to a terrorist act, they're completely understandable. And then Two is to make the point and then stop having made the point. That's clear and sensible. Pakistan's objectives seem to me a lot murkier or incoherent. One could understand a response for pride and national sovereignty. But as one of the gentlemen said, it seemed clear also that India has been providing the off-ramps that one wants to in this sort of response.
Yes.
And Pakistan is not taking them, and I see nothing positive that Pakistan can achieve out of all of this.
Stephen, I want to bring you in quickly about the way the Indian government has in fact put this out. They've said that these are going to be custom match attacks because remember just a day ago our own military installations, whether Udhampur or Pathankot, all of them were attacked. So this is indeed a custom match attack.
Well, you may see it that way. I may see it that way. Pakistan probably doesn't and see it that way. Or even if it does, I get back to the notion of the leadership there saving face, that being their possible imperative here in what generally is, I agree with Glenn, kind of a chaotic handling of this whole confrontation. And we shouldn't underestimate the extent to which they may be wanting to save face as this matter unfolds. The fact that India is now on high alert for return attacks means that I would think the Indian government is assessing that Pakistan might very possibly strike back. What does India do next? That's a good question if that happens. And I've said this before, but I hope that one way or another, a way is found to de-escalate this, maybe mediation by a third party. But we don't want this to get to a point where Pakistan sees no alternative to saving face other than using its ultimate nuclear weapons. Again, I don't think it'll come to that for all sorts of reasons, but we are in very, very dangerous territory now by virtue of that as even a small possibility.
All right, Stephen Golub, thank you very much for joining us. If you're joining us early this morning, it's been a night of attacks and counterattacks. There's been a major escalation in the last few hours. It started with Pakistan trying to send ballistic missiles. That is a major step from these drones that they were sending for the last couple of nights. A major escalation by Pakistan trying to send ballistic missiles to at least 6 different places, all of which has been successfully intercepted. India, in return, has attacked multiple places in Pakistan. The latest that we're hearing is that the Sukur Air Base in Sindh has been attacked. The Noor Khan Ali base in Punjab has also been attacked. So there are multiple locations where this is being attacked by surface-to-air missiles. Pakistan, in response, has now closed its airspace up until noon today, which means this is where India is hit. It is hit close to Islamabad. It has hit the Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi, in Sheikhpura, in Chakwal, which is the Murid Air Base, also in Narowal, the Rafiki Air Base in Shorkot. So you have about 6 or 7 places where India is hit with surface-to-air missiles in what is clearly now the next rung of escalation. We're given to understand that Pakistan is scrambling its jets in response. We don't know what the nature of Pakistan's response is going to be, but this has been a major escalation after Pakistan managed to get that $1 billion tranche of the IMF loan, as well as, of course, after the visit of the Deputy Foreign Minister of Saudi Arabia to Islamabad. So I think somewhere the calculation now by both sides is that they're now climbing into the next step of the escalation ladder. What happens in the next few hours, we don't know. There is some kind of a response coming from Pakistan. India is, of course, 100% prepared for it. In about 20 minutes time, I'm given to understand, there will be a briefing in South Block by senior officials of the Defence Forces. We will bring you up to speed as and when we know who is addressing the media. clearly it's been a night of major escalation from Lahore to Sindh, Rawalpindi. Multiple air bases have been targeted by India. There's also, by the way, drones that have been hanging around major cities, including Lahore, Islamabad, and Rawalpindi. In Haryana, over the skies over Sirsa, we're given to understand that the Fatah 2, the missile that Pakistan had launched, has been intercepted. So major escalation. There was an attempt by Pakistan to hit the Jammu Air Force Station as well. That too has been intercepted by India's air defenses. So from Lahore to Sindh, India is matching Pakistan tit for tat in what has been a major escalation by both sides. Pakistan, of course, deciding to climb that escalatory ladder after the decision of the International Monetary Fund to give it the $1 billion tranche of its loan, as well as, of course, after the visit of the Saudi foreign minister. Now, Pakistan seems to have made a calculation that they want to up the ante. We're getting more breaking news. This is again a bid by Pakistan to try and escalate the attack. The bid has been thwarted. Pakistan tried to attack the Jammu Air Force Station. Remember, Jammu has been in the target for the last 2 or 3 nights now. Remember the drone attacks that happened a couple of nights ago. It started with an attack on the Jammu airport. Now the Jammu Air Force Station was tried to be attacked by Pakistan using some form of missile. We're not sure what nature of missile they tried to use, but that attack, that attempt by Pakistan has been intercepted by India's air defense. So major escalation that has now been thwarted. Also earlier this morning, an attempt was made over Hisar in Haryana. That too has been thwarted by the Indian Defence Forces. Let me try and see if we can go across to Akash first, our defence reporter. Akash, just paint the night for us. Where all has Pakistan tried to attack us, and where all has India responded to this Pakistani escalation?
Right. So it started late in the evening yesterday. In fact, we saw that the ceasefire violations from evening, but then the drone attacks and also the missile came at around 8 p.m. And again, starting from Jammu and Samba, we saw the initial reports and in fact the confirmation that how drones have been coming, but all of these were thwarted. But this time around, Indian authorities and in fact the agencies, retaliated, and a strong retaliation was there. Noor Khan Air Base, that is in Rawalpindi, Shorkot Air Base, that is in Punjab, that have their JF-17 squadron, and Murid Air Base, that is again in Punjab. We have been told that these air bases have been hit, and in fact the assets, their air assets, including the air defense system, has been hit by Indian forces. We have seen the DGI SPR confirmation as well, though we will wait for the official confirmation from the Indian Armed Forces, Dhaka. But at this point in time, while we are talking, in fact in Jammu, we have been hearing a lot of AD gun sounds, and possibly there was an attempt to in fact destroy some sort of asset or the infrastructure in Air Force station here in Jammu, but it has been thwarted. Our air defense is very much working. AD gun is importantly playing a major role this time around, because we have upgraded and in fact incorporated the counter drone technologies in our AD gun systems. So at this point in time, while it is about Jammu, it's the early morning hours, and in fact just a while back we were hearing the air sirens, in fact Dhaka, but we have been told that the attempt has been thwarted. In fact a missile was launched towards Delhi as well. This is what we are learning. In fact, Manoj Gupta is bringing us this input, where a missile was launched towards Delhi, but it has been intercepted in Sirsa, and in fact the attempt to attack Delhi has been thwarted, Zaka.
All right, so that was the Fatah 2 missile that Pakistan tried to launch to Delhi. It's been intercepted in the skies over Sirsa. Let's try and bring you up to speed with the counter-offensive that India has launched. It's been a night, a very hot night between India and Pakistan. India has launched multiple missile as well as drone strikes, starting from Islamabad in the north, Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi. It's one of the largest air bases of the Pakistan Air Force. That has been hit. The Murid Air Base in Chakwal, again a substantially big air base of the Pakistan Air Force in Murid in Chakwal. That has also been hit. In Sheikhpura, a third air base in Rafiki, which is in Shorkat, which is further south. All of these are in Punjab, in the very heart of Pakistan, as it were, in Shorkat. The Rafiki Air Base of the Pakistan Air Force has also been hit. And we have one more, the Sukur Airport in Sindh. So Punjab and Sindh, which are the two biggest provinces in Pakistan, have been hit. Also in Narowal and Lahore, but these I think are smaller drone attacks. But India has also replied with ballistic missile attacks in response to what Pakistan tried to do. It launched the Fatah 2 directed at Delhi, but it was intercepted at the skies over Haryana. Let's try and go across to more reporters. Aishman is also joining us from our newsroom. So Aishman, can you bring us up to speed with the places where Pakistan tried to attack overnight and India's air defense systems have intercepted and brought down these Pakistani missiles?
Absolutely, Zaka. We've been tracking through the night the attacks that have been coming in from the Pakistani forces. We saw how they lit up the entire border area all the way from the north in Kupwara, in Uri, where the ceasefire violations were taking place. Then we saw the drone strikes which were taking place in the Jammu area, all the way down to Bhuj. There were several attacks coming in from the Pakistan side, several drone strikes which were coming in from the Pakistan side, which were intercepted by India's advanced air defense system. And that is the latest update that we are getting from our investigations editor Manoj Gupta, who's also looking at every aspect of the escalating tensions between India and Pakistan, with the Fateh 2 missile that has been launched by Pakistan towards Delhi was intercepted at Sirsa. So India's air defense systems continue to be robust, countering any offensive coming in from Pakistan. Pakistan tried those offensives when it came to targeting the military as well as certain civilian areas along the line of control and the international border, all the way from Jammu and Kashmir down to Rajasthan, even to Bhuj in near the Gujarat area. But clearly the air defense system was deterring all those attacks. But the tensions continue to escalate between the two sides because Pakistan is now priming its counter-offensive.
All right, Aishman, we'll leave it at that. I think the big news that we have is that it's been a hot night between India and Pakistan over the last 4 or 5 hours. The escalation started by Pakistan right after its announcement that the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, has approved a tranche of $1 billion for Pakistan as part of a $7 billion package that was agreed to a few years ago. The big development is that India has hit multiple air bases of Pakistan from Punjab to Sindh. Pakistan has tried to send ballistic missiles. One of them, the Fatah 2, which is a medium-range ballistic missile with a range of about 400 kilometers, tried to, or at least sent in the direction of New Delhi, which is the national capital, but got intercepted, I'm given to understand, by the Barak air defense missile, the surface-to-air missile. It has been intercepted there, and it has been brought down in the skies over Sirsa in Haryana. Let me go across to our guests in what is, I'm afraid, a very serious escalation over the last 4 or 5 hours. Lieutenant General retired Sanjay Kulkarni is joining us, former DG of Infantry. Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow at the Observer Research Foundation, is with us. Glenn Carl, former CIA officer, is also with us. Let me start with you, Lieutenant General. What do you make of this sudden and serious escalation by Pakistan? India, of course, responding measure for measure. Do you reckon now we are in the next rung, as it were, of the escalation ladder? We've now climbed to the second rung. Now both countries are sending ballistic missiles at each other.
Good morning, Zaka. Good morning to my fellow panelists. Definitely, I think in the escalating ladder, we've gone a notch higher, because on the 8th, we had the Pakis fire about 400 odd missiles and drones towards India. All of them, of course, neutralized. Well, yes, last night also almost similar, when we saw at around 9ish when things started off from Pakistan side. Most of the targets again from, like on the 8th, it was from, we could say from Leh to Sir Creek. Yesterday night, it was almost closer to that. Most of our airfields and some of the towns in and around the airfields were having, they were trying to strike them. Jammu primarily was one. But then what I hear from what you are saying, that at night they attempted to strike Delhi with Hatab 2 and being intercepted at Sirsa. Obviously now it required to go up the escalation ladder, because so far we've been attempting to keep everything restrained, well, non-escalatory, but it's time now. There's no more restraint and no more non-escalatory. not, I wouldn't even call it tit for tat, just give it back and give it back in measures that Pakistan
All right.
realizes it, that it's too much. You can't be doing it. I think Pakistan doesn't seem to realize, and we have to hit at the source of terror. And the source of terror is the Pakistan army. We have to make sure that all assets of the Pakistan army have to be hit, and none better than where it hurts the most. And this, the airfields was one, the nerve center, Rawalpindi, yet another one which needs to be hit, so that the Pakistanis realize it, that if they try and go up the escalator ladder, because we attempted to hit the locations of the terrorists. Those 9 locations for those 25 minutes and 24 missiles, and that was, we thought the Operation Sindoor was all over. But unlike that, when they struck India, it was they struck India. And therefore, when they've struck India, now they get it back. And even for the first 2 nights, I thought we were quite patient. We ought not to have been so patient. But notwithstanding that, since it's all over, we tried to show our patience. But now, obviously, the patience run out, and Pakistan needs to be paid back, not in the same coin, much higher. And now the time has come.
So
to give
there are
it
at
back
least
in.
3 Pakistani Air Force air bases that India has hit, including the Noor Khan Air Base, one of the biggest in Pakistan. So Shan Sareen, what do you make of what's been going on over these last 4-5 hours? Is this now definitely both sides climbing up the escalation ladder? The attempt by Pakistan to try and send a missile to Delhi, that is a serious escalation. How do you think that is being viewed in New Delhi? We believe there's going to be a briefing by the armed forces in the next few minutes, but what's your assessment?
Zaka, I would imagine that the Pakistani attempt to fire a missile at Delhi would have really, let's say, would have lifted some of the restraints that the Indians have been putting on themselves over the last 2 days. For 2 nights, we've been having these kind of attacks taking place, and the Indian response has been very, very carefully calibrated. So if the Pakistanis were sending in drones and some light missiles, the Indians were responding similarly. The only difference between the 2 sides was that the Indian retaliation to Pakistani attacks was a little more successful than what the Pakistanis were attempting to do. The same thing happened last night. And then tonight, I think the Pakistanis really tried to up the ante. First, they tried to attack Jammu and another 26 places, and then they launched these missiles at Delhi. And I imagine that preposterous and ridiculous statement of their DG ISPR, who's the son of an internationally designated terrorist, incidentally. His father is an internationally proscribed UN designated terrorist, right? For his association with Osama bin Laden. That guy is the DG ISPR. Now, he says that 6 missiles were launched from Adampur, 5 of them on Amritsar and 1 on Adampur itself. So from Adampur, we launched a missile in Adampur and 1 in Amritsar, say 5 in Amritsar, to kill 6. How stupid can he be? But he is. So clearly, I think from the Indian point of view, there has been this messaging going across that, listen, we are giving you off ramps, take them. If you're not going to take them, then we are going to hit you back. Now, I would say that we haven't really gone up the escalation ladder. Because look at it this way, the Pakistanis have been trying to hit our air bases. They've been trying to hit Pathankot. They've been trying to hit Avantipura. They've been trying to hit Amritsar. They've tried to hit a number of other Adampur and other air bases, right? So it's not that they've not tried to hit our air bases, just they've not been successful. So what have we done? We have also hit their air bases. We've used drones, and I'm now going by Pakistani accounts because we still don't have any Indian official accounts. The Pakistanis have claimed that the attacks on some of their air bases were from air to surface, which means that it were Indian aircraft which were firing those missiles from the air. And that is something which has been done in the past as well. So it is not, in that sense, a very significant escalation. We haven't as yet used ballistic missiles, surface-to-surface missiles. So we have also kept under a certain threshold so far. Just that our attacks have been a lot more successful, okay? And theirs have failed. Now, you cannot launch an assault on me and then claim the failure of your assault as a virtue and play victim. I'm sorry, that does not work. You launched an attack, it failed. I now am launching a counter attack, which seems to have gone down fairly well. But let's not kid ourselves. We are now going to be climbing up the escalation ladder because the Pakistanis are going to try and come back at us with full force. And let's see the next few hours, maybe this day will be a very critical day. Let's also not kid ourselves, Zaka, and I think we should be prepared. Our people should be prepared that there will be things which will get through our defenses. There will be casualties, there will be damage, there will be loss, and we should man up and take it all.
Okay.
And then go and
go
and take some more.
Yeah, I just want to bring in
a
word.
Yeah,
a word that top government sources have told our investigations editor Manoj Gupta. We can break that as well. This is a message, and I guess this will be a message that will be conveyed by the defense folks who will be briefing the media, I believe, at 5:45 on the south lawns of the South Block. This is what top government sources have told Manoj Gupta, that Pakistan should try and understand that all that India is doing is commitment to a proportionate response, and that they should stop now. Pakistan should stop now. Otherwise, the next time India will have to be forced to climb the escalation ladder. So Pakistan needs to get the message and needs to stop now. It needs to stop sending all of these ballistic missiles. The Fatah 2 was attempted to hit Delhi, but it got intercepted in the skies over Haryana. Let me also try and go back to our reporters before I go back to the guests. Look, over the last 6 hours or so, there has been an attempt by Pakistan through drones, through ballistic missiles, to try and hit India at multiple places, multiple air stations. Let's try and go full frame to that. Multiple air stations have been targeted in Jammu. Jammu Air Base particularly seems to be one area where the Pakistanis have been trying for the last 3 nights to try and cause some damage. We've had drone attacks last night in Srinagar. We've also had an attempt to try and take down the Avantipura Air Base, also in Amritsar, the air base there, as well as, of course, the air base that we have in Haryana. But in response, India has attacked at least 3 air bases. 2 of them are major air bases for Pakistan. The Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi, one of the biggest that Pakistan has. The Murid Air Base in Chakwal, which is also nearby. Both of this, of course, are right in the heart of Punjab. Then there is the Rafiki Air Base, a smaller one in Shorkot in southern Punjab, and then the Sukur Airport, which is used both for civilian and defense purposes in Sindh. So both in Punjab and in Sindh, there have been major attacks by the Indian armed forces. We're given to understand that at least some of these have been surface-to-air missiles, and some of these have been air-to-surface missiles, so they've been launched from a fighter jet. We'll try and get further information of that, but this is how it is looking right now. If Akash and let's get a sense of who are the other reporters that we have on the ground. We'll go across to Akash in just a moment, but it has been a night of heavy exchange of fire, drones and missiles between India and Pakistan. Pakistan climbing up the escalation ladder in a dramatic sort of upping of the ante, as it were, soon after the announcement by the International Monetary Fund of a tranche of $1 billion to Pakistan as part of an agreed-upon package of $7 billion over a period of 3 or 4 years. Now Pakistan tried to send a ballistic missile towards India, intercepted in the skies over Sirsa in Haryana. It was directed at Delhi. Imagine if that missile had been successful and there was damage here in Delhi. That would have been a serious escalation of the situation between India and Pakistan, as it were. It seems to be that the Pakistani military leadership is being given a very solid and definitive message by the Indian military leadership. Back off now. Do not escalate. There you go. I want to once again bring you up to speed. So the smaller blasts that you're seeing on the map, Islamabad, Narowal, Lahore, these are all drone attacks that India has managed to pierce the Pakistani air defense and hit some of these places, including Sheikhpura, etc. But the air base attacks that have been hit, those are missiles. Those are medium-range missiles that India has used. Like I said, in response, matching Pakistani aggression, Pakistan trying even with their ballistic missiles to pierce India's air defenses and hit some key defense installations as well as civilian installations here in India. This is India's response, and India is also sending out a message to Pakistan: please refrain from climbing further up the escalation ladder. All right, let's try and play out some of those visuals. I believe we have visuals from the Noor Khan base that was struck by India's missiles. Let's try and play out that video, and I'll come back to our guests and our reporters.
और ये नूर खान बेस के ऊपर अटैक हुआ है भाईजान नूर खान बेस में आके गिरा है ये अटैक हुआ है नूर खान बेस पे बिल्कुल घर के सामने अभी एक जहाज गुजरा है और ये नूर खान बेस के ऊपर अटैक हुआ है भाईजान नूर खान बेस में आके गिरा है ये अटैक हुआ है नूर खान बेस पे बिल्कुल घर के सामने अभी एक जहाज गुजरा है और ये नूर खान बेस के ऊपर अटैक हुआ है भाईजान नूर खान बेस में आके गिरा है ये अटैक हुआ है नूर खान बेस पे.
Right, let me go across to Akash. Akash, just bring our viewers up to speed if they're just tuning in at 5:45 this morning. It's been a very, very hot night between India and Pakistan. Multiple locations in Pakistan have been hit, including at least 3 air bases. Pakistan has tried to dramatically escalate, go up the escalation ladder. Pakistan has tried to hit, among other places, even the national capital by launching a ballistic missile. It has been intercepted successfully by India's air defenses. It's been a night where they have tried drones as well as missiles. What are top defense sources telling you, Akash? What is going on in these last 4 or 5 hours?
Right, Zaka, first of all, in some time from now, we are going to have a press conference from the armed forces where we will be getting some sort of details of the sort of developments that have happened throughout the night. But at this point in time, in fact, in Jammu, we have been hearing multiple sounds, Zaka. We have been told that Air Force Station Jammu was on target. Initially, it was thwarted, but then, the sound is still on. We have been told that air defense guns are very much active. As far as, developments in the night are concerned, so we have been seeing major escalation from Pakistan, where after last evening, in fact day before yesterday and last evening too, they have tried drones and missiles through different in fact two different military stations here in India, military infrastructure. Jammu is one prime target where they have been, in fact, Zaka, you can hear the sounds as well, the air defense guns where Jammu is on target, and again we are hearing these sounds where our sources are telling us that Air Force Station was on target, but it was thwarted. Something rocket propelled is being sent. It can be a missile, it can be a UAV as well. We have been told, and we know that how they are using SH-15 as well. But yes, SH-15, there is less possibility that it can come here, even when they are bringing it to that bulge near Akhnur. At this point in time, while we talk about other places, so we have been told that crucial military infrastructure is on target. Of course, we will not tell the location because of limitations, but they are targeting our crucial air assets. None of them till now is successful. They tried attacking Delhi as well, but it was thwarted. As far as Pakistan and its assets are concerned, Zaka, we have been told that Noor Khan Air Base, one of their important bases in Rawalpindi, very close to the headquarters, and in fact very close to the important infrastructure, was hit last night. Successful hit. In fact, their air assets were targeted, and military aircraft and transport aircraft both are there in the particular air base. We know that how they have the C-130 transport aircraft in that. They are operating some sort of drones from there. These facilities were hit by the Indian Armed Forces, including very high value target of the AD systems and radars. Shorkot Air Base, that is in Punjab, there we have a JF-17 of Pakistan. It was hit, and in fact Murid Air Base, very important Murid Air Base, they are operating their drones from Murid Air Base as well. It was hit. At this point in time, Zaka, they are trying multiple locations, not in Jammu and Kashmir, but in Haryana, in Punjab, in Rajasthan as well, and these attempts are being thwarted at this point in time. Air defense is very much active. We are still checking. We will be going with the reliable information only, and in some time from now, Zaka, armed forces are going to address the press conference, and meanwhile, we are hearing these constant sounds, possibly of the air defense guns, here in Jammu, because Jammu is on target, Zaka.
All right. Akash, any idea who in the Indian Army or the Defence Forces are going to be briefing? So far in these last 3 days, we've had the Foreign Secretary and the two young officers, the women officers from the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force. But this seems to be somebody else. Any word you're picking up on who's going to be briefing and why the need for this sudden early morning briefing? Because clearly things seem to have ratcheted up a couple of notches overnight in the last 4 or 5 hours.
We are assuming that someone from the IDS would be briefing IDS integrated defense staff. In fact, the coordinated command is there, and someone from IDS would be briefing, because these inputs will be of the Air Force, Indian Army, and the other forces as well. Also, we have been told that there can be a different level representation. Maybe someone from the MEA can also be a part. There is no clarity, but Zaka, as far as this briefing is concerned, so it was important, given the fact that there is a lot of narrative on social media where not just DG ISPR addressing the press conference is putting several sort of information that is not true from Indian side. We have their social media handles that are propagating some sort of narrative, and that's the reason why there was a need for this urgent press conference in the morning. Also because of the sort of operations that have happened throughout the night. We know that how Indian forces have retaliated to the aggression of Pakistan, where they have been trying to attack the military infrastructure here in India from last 2 days. Last night also, there were retaliation, there were operations, but India did not hit them.
Akash, I believe the briefing has begun. My colleague Arunima is telling us that if we can get either her, if we can get a live feed or a phone or an audio feed of the briefing, let's try and go across to her. If somebody can just put her through on the phone. Let's try and make sense of the story for our viewers. The briefing has begun by the Indian Army officials. We're not sure if this is on camera, if this is on record, or this is an off-record briefing, but certainly senior officials of the Indian Army are briefing on the lawns of South Block, is what we're given to understand, to try and get a sense of what exactly is going on here. If we can please connect to Arunima. I've been asking for the last 5 minutes to our assignment desk. Please connect our reporters on the ground. Let's try and make sense of what the story is for our viewers who may be tuning in just now at 5:50 in the morning. It's been a very hot night between India and Pakistan. You can see those pictures. India has hit multiple locations in Pakistan, from Islamabad to Lahore to Rawalpindi. The Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi, one of the biggest that Pakistan has been hit. Can we please put through some reporters to try and make sense of this story for our viewers? There is, of course, a briefing that is happening right now by top Indian Army officials in South Block, on the lawns of the South Block. They will be giving us an assessment of what is going on, what has been going on in these last 4 or 5 hours between India and Pakistan. So the attempt has now gone up a notch from drones. It is scaled up now to missiles. All right, let's go across to Anvit, who is on the phone line. Anvit, where are you and what are you hearing?
Hi, Zaka. Morning. We are in Jaisalmer, and they are observing a complete blackout. They had been shut all lights and vehicular movement from 6 p.m. till 6 p.m. in the morning, and even now vehicular movement has been restricted. What we are reporting, from where we are reporting, is 70 to 80 kilometers from the border, because the last village, that is Ramgarh, beyond that, army is not allowing any civilian movement or any media movement as well. So we are reporting from here, but last to last night, even from here, we could clearly see the flares in the skies, and we could clearly see the ammunition coming in from Pakistan. But last night had been relatively peaceful. No visuals in the sky. Skies had been clear since last night. But yes, police have been making patrols, heavy patrols. In fact, we had also been hearing sirens, because on the forward areas yesterday, also in Jaisalmer and in Barmer, the sirens were being played out, as some drone sightings were also done. Following that, sirens had been played out, but so far as the ammunition is concerned, nothing has landed into Jaisalmer in the city side. However, some developments were.
We'll come back to you. Aman is also joining us. Aman, I believe there's a briefing by senior Indian Army officials that's going on in South Block. What are you hearing? Pakistan has shut off its airspace now for the next 6 hours till noon. I believe there's going to be a further escalation by Pakistan in the next few hours, but India has hit multiple air bases bases from the Noor Khan Air Base to the Sukur Airport in Rawalpindi. Multiple air bases have been targeted by surface-to-air missiles. Let us know what is going on. What are you hearing this Saturday morning?
See, Zaka, what we are hearing from Indian government sources is that Pakistan has launched its counter strike to Operation Sindoor. You know, on May 7th, we saw India strike through Operation Sindoor, and the officials were saying last evening also that these drone attacks, which were launched by Pakistan over the last 2 days, were more of an intelligence gathering mechanism to assess our air defense capabilities. This seems to be the real attack coming from Pakistan. Of course, our air defense system is engaging all these offenses which are being launched by Pakistan. As you said, they have closed down their airspace for the next 5 to 6 hours. Seems that Pakistan is trying to now hit our air bases and they are trying to launch missiles. That is what we are hearing. The Indian government briefing is about to start. It was to start at 5:45, but it has still not started in the lawns of South Block. Shortly, Indian officials will be briefing us on what exactly is happening. But it seems that this is Pakistan's response. And India is very, very clearly saying that this response is very, very escalatory in nature. We are warning Pakistan to stop this, or India's response to this will be even more severe. Pakistan seems to be escalating the situation, Zaka, and that is what the Indian government sources are saying so far. We'll await the official press briefing, which is to happen in the next few minutes, Zaka.
Okay, Anshul is also joining us from Pathankot. What's happened there overnight? I believe there was multiple drones flying over the Pathankot airbase overnight. What is the latest that you can share with us, Anshul?
So yes, specifically over the last half an hour to 45 minutes, there has been at least 30 to 35 loud explosions that we have heard ourselves over here. I'll just try and move out of the frame and try and give a sense as how close is enemy at this point in time. The hills that you are seeing over there, these hills actually belong to the Pakistan. So we are, in fact, Pathankot is very, very close to the international border, and from this direction itself, there were several projectiles that were launched from the side of Pakistan, but our air defense systems have made sure that all these projectiles that were launched from that end were actually controlled in the air itself. They were blasted in the air itself. Nothing untoward has been reported till now. The Pathankot airbase is absolutely safe, is what we are being told. The situation is still tense because the blackouts are still continuing. There is no electricity across Pathankot over the last 4 hours. The blackout was supposed to end at 4 a.m. It is still continuing over here. There is constant announcements, and there is constant patrolling that is being done by the local police over here, trying to give out this message that people do not need to panic, do not need to step out their houses. They just need to follow the SOPs and everything will be fine. But yes, India's air defense system proving yet again that these Pakistani missiles, these Pakistani drones.
Akash is also there with us. Akash, I believe that off-cam briefing has been cancelled. Now we'll have a regular briefing at 10 a.m. Any idea on why that off-cam briefing has been cancelled and what's going on? What's the word you're picking up from MOD headquarters?
The operations are ongoing, situation is evolving, and that's the reason why they have in fact they have cancelled the briefing. We have been learning, Zaka. In fact, this briefing will be happening after 10 a.m. we have been told, and this will be a regular briefing since we are hearing about several attacks at different places throughout India. Specifically, they are targeting Pathankot, Jammu. In fact, I'm learning about some attempts in Jaisalmer as well once again, but then we'll wait for the confirmation. They are firing ballistic missiles at places. We have been told that there are places where they have been, firing ballistic missiles. Artillery is very much on, at the LC, and situation is evolving. That's the reason why MOD officials may have, cancelled the briefing. But we have been learning. In fact, Pallavi is talking about the briefing that is going to happen at 10 a.m. Zaka, this is the major escalation. We have been talking about it, how India retaliated, and then once again in the morning time, in the daytime now, the attack is on, which is in fact, going towards a major escalation, a war possibly. But then at this point in time, Indian armed forces are very much ready and capable, and they, we have been in fact told that air defense systems are very much active, and in Jammu, in fact, there are attempts at least there are 5 to 6 attempts in the last half an hour, we have been told, in Jammu, but all of these attempts are thwarted. And in fact, drone attack is there, missile attack is there, and rocket propulsion is something that officers are talking about, possibly a missile when we say rocket propulsion. But Jammu is not the only place. In Srinagar also we have heard a sound, and in fact apart from Jammu and Srinagar, we have been told that in Udhampur also sirens are on. So at this point in time, while India has given it back to Pakistan at 3 different air bases of Pakistan, it seems that Pakistan is once again trying to attack the military infrastructure, specifically the air force stations and the air bases. Possibly they want to attack on airstrips or the the air assets that we have at the air force stations. But yes, an official word is very much expected, because we have been in fact told about several other things. And then I'm hearing the constant sound, Zaka. I want to stress on this particular sound, because Jammu is one prime target. So Jammu is very close to the international boundary, international border. In the initial day, we have seen that how a barrage of drones were launched towards Jammu, and this time around we are learning about missiles. I'm also trying to check the environment. In fact, the clouds where I'm unable to see anything. Very close to the airport I'm standing, and at that particular place only we are hearing, in fact we are seeing this sort of action, where we have been told that missiles are there, missiles are coming towards the Jammu Air Force Station and the airport. Both are in close vicinity. Also, other than Jammu and Srinagar, we have been told that there is a target in Haryana. I'll of course not name the location, but there is a target in Haryana as well, which has been in fact thwarted. Missile was launched. We know that how a missile was launched towards Delhi as well, the national capital. They clearly want to escalate it further. It was categorically mentioned by the Indian Armed Forces that we don't want to escalate, and that's why we are not targeting a civilian population. But we have seen that how last night in Firozpur a civilian population was targeted. Several individuals were hit because of this sort of target, where
Akash,
they
just give me a moment.
hit one civilian.
The big story happening right now is there's an off-cam briefing by senior officials of the Indian Army. They're saying that there has been retaliatory action that's been carried out. The LOC has been hot for the last 4 or 5 hours. In fact, more than that, it's been hot since last night. But what has happened overnight is Pakistan has now climbed up the escalation ladder from drones, which did not have any explosives. They've now notched it up to drones with explosives. And last night, they have now notched it up one rung further in the escalation ladder, trying to hit India through ballistic missiles, including one, a Fatah 2, which was launched in the direction of Delhi. Thankfully, that's been intercepted in the skies over Sirsa. India has retaliated. India has responded to the Pakistani escalation. India has managed to hit at least 3 different air bases in Noor Khan, of course, which is one of the biggest air bases of the Pakistan Air Force. They've also hit an air base in Chakwal, a civil-cum-military airport in Sukur in Sindh. So multiple military installations and civil installations as well have been hit. It's been a combination of drone attacks plus missile attacks. I also want to get more information at 10 a.m. The Foreign Secretary will be briefing. Remember, the last 3 days, it's been the Foreign Secretary along with the 2 young women officers of the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force. So that briefing is going to happen at 10 a.m. That's going to be on the record. Right now, what is happening is an off-record briefing by senior officials of the Indian Army. Let's go across to more reporters who are also joining us. Ishan is joining us from Srinagar. Ishan, again, looks like it's been a very hot night in Srinagar as well as in other parts of the Kashmir Valley.
Well, Zaka, right. This is for the first time also that drones came to Srinagar, Avantipura and Baramulla. Multiple, blasts were heard, and the defense system ensured that none of the air bases was hit. The target was to hit Avantipura Air Base and Srinagar Air Station. We should understand that Srinagar Airport is not just a civilian airport. It's a military army, Air Force air station. So that's why they try to hit the crucial infrastructure. And even 5 or 10 minutes back, we heard in Srinagar, people are waking up to the 2 loud blasts that were heard, possibly intercepting some kind of missiles or some kind of projectile being fired towards possibly airports in Srinagar or Avantipura. These are the main 2 bases. But apart from this, we have been learning that they tried to carry out, drone-based attacks last night on the India's military infrastructure, particularly in Baramulla, which acts as a front line for the line of control. So they might have tried to hit the Indian Army's main assets in Baramulla, Srinagar, and Avantipur, but that has been repulsed. What we have been given also to understand is that security around these vital installations has been doubled, and it's amply clear that they are going to attack these vital installations to basically stop the military's or air forces advance. If at all that happens with Pakistan. But during overnight, there has been massive shelling that has taken place both on the line of control in Kashmir and also other areas of Kashmir where people have already left their houses and left for safer destinations.
All right, Aman is also joining us. Aman, what's the word you're hearing from top government sources? It's been a very, very hot night, escalatory action by Pakistan. India responding with both drone attacks as well as surface-to-air missiles. What are you learning from top government sources? I believe the Foreign Secretary will be having that briefing at 10 a.m. for an official word. But what are you picking up on what an escalatory night it's been between Friday night and Saturday morning?
Well, absolutely, Zaka. It's been a big escalation, first from Pakistan and a big response from India. That is what we're hearing from top government sources, especially India's attack on 3 air bases of Pakistan, mainly the Noor Khan air base, which has in Rawalpindi, which is a major response by India, because this is now India firing missiles at Pakistan after the relentless 2 days. Pakistan has sent 300 to 400 drones the previous night, and yesterday also these drone attacks have been incessant on our forward, cities, and all major cities of India are now on high alert, because there is also news that Pakistan fired a missile towards India, which has been intercepted at Sirsa. So Pakistan is really escalating the situation. This seems to be their main attack in the last 2 days. Maybe, as Indian officials were saying at the briefing yesterday, that those attacks were mainly to gauge India's air defense system capability and gather intelligence. This seemed to be the main attack which has happened last night, and though it has been foiled to a larger extent, and we'll get details of that at 10 a.m. when the Foreign Secretary and the government brief us on what exactly has happened. But so far it seems Pakistan is escalating the situation. Indian government sources are saying that Pakistan should stop, because if it doesn't stop, the Indian response is going to be even more fierce. India is ready to go to any lengths to protect its assets, to protect its territory from such missile and drone attacks by Pakistan and by hitting Rawalpindi. India has shown the capability it has to hit in the heart of Pakistan. We have seen these visuals on the screen as well. Indian government sources are very clear that India is not going to step back if Pakistan is going to do such big retaliation that we have seen since last night, and big air bases of Pakistan being hit by India. We'll get more details. I think the official press briefing, Zaka, has also been put off for now, because the operation is ongoing. It's a very evolving situation, and the next 2 to 3 hours could be very crucial in determining which way this escalation is now going, Zaka.
Arunama is also joining us from South Block. Arunama, I believe there's been some off-rec information that's been given to reporters. Who was briefing, and what have they said? What is the information that you have?
Yeah, so this was supposed to be an official briefing, to respond to all that DGISPR has said. But what we were told that since air operations have begun again for the last 1 hour or so, air operations have begun again, even though on ground, this is what we learned, that on the LOC, the ground fire that we are hearing, that has become intermittent firing for now. So the entire focus is on the sky. And because of those ongoing air operations, the briefing has been delayed now. The briefing is now expected at 10. But what we can confirm is that, South Block is carrying on retaliatory attacks after Pakistan carried out its misadventure at 26 locations last night as well. And these are air operations mainly that are going on. DGISPR and Pakistani officials claim that Pathankot and Jammu air bases in India were targeted, but there's no confirmation that is coming in from South Block at this stage about whether Pathankot or Jammu air base was targeted at all, because we have seen over the last 2 days also such attempts were made and the attempts were thwarted. India, however, is confirming that 3 Pakistani air bases have been successfully targeted as a retaliatory action after Pakistan's misadventure. At around 10 o'clock, we're expecting a detailed list of the overnight operations that have been carried out. One must emphasize that what we are being told is that the operation is still ongoing. As we are speaking, the air operations are still on.
So here's what we know, that Pakistan in a dramatic manner tried to escalate the attack on India's military installations. I have a list of places that have been hit overnight, or at least the attempt was made by Pakistan to try and hit. It attempted to attack Udhampur, which is a large base that we have. Pathankot Air Base, one of the forward air bases of the Indian Air Force. The Jammu Air Force Station has also been one of the targets of the attack. Sirsa, where the skies above Sirsa is where the Fatah 2, the ballistic missile, was intercepted and brought down. That, we're given to understand, was headed in the direction of Delhi. So it's a major and dramatic escalation by Pakistan over the last 6 hours or so. I suspect it was after the announcement by the International Monetary Fund that they are releasing that tranche of $1 billion as part of that agreed package for $7 billion over a period of 3 or 4 years. Let me ask you, Arunima, so in response to this, it's clear that Pakistan has escalated and tried to attack India's Air Force and Army bases. India has responded too. Is there any word you're picking up officially from Defense Ministry officials or from senior army sources as to what are the places that India has hit in Pakistan in response to what Pakistan has tried to do?
So before that, Zaka, since you mentioned that, from Sirsa, the target seemed to be Delhi. So what we heard from South Block is that Delhi is absolutely safe, that there was no attempt that was even close to the national capital. So that is one thing that South Block has made absolutely clear, that there's no problem for the national capital. However, on the Pakistani side, the report that we are getting is that Islamabad, Lahore and their air assets were targeted and successfully targeted is what we are being told. However, they're refraining from going ahead and giving an official word or official coordinates, because they do want the foreign secretary and the two officials who we have been hearing over the last 3 days between 10 and 10:30. That official briefing is expected, and they do want to give out the specific names and air bases at that press conference. But indications that yes, we have carried out retaliatory attacks in the Pakistani capital, in Rawalpindi and also in Lahore, and they're emphasizing that in spite of all the bombastic claims that are coming in from DGISPR, none of the Indian air bases have been breached. They're all safe, and the national capital, the misadventure that they wanted for the national capital, was stopped way ahead. So Indian air defense is still working, but once again to emphasize that the air operations are still on.
All right, so here are the military installations that Pakistan has tried to attack over the last 6 hours. There was an attempt at the Udhampur station, at the Pathankot Air Force Base, the Jammu Air Force Station, and of course over Sirsa, which again is a large Air Force base, Air Force station in Udhampur as well. There, the missile, the ballistic missile, the Fatah 2, which is a medium-range missile, is about 300-400 kilometers range, which Pakistan tried to send in the direction of the national capital. That has been intercepted and that has been brought down in the skies over Sirsa. So there are at least 4 or 5 Air Force stations that Pakistan has tried to attack, Indian Air Force bases that Pakistan has tried to attack over the last 6 hours. In response, India has hit back and it has targeted at least 3 major air bases of the Pakistan Air Force. The biggest one, of course, the Noor Khan Air Base, right in the heart of Rawalpindi. You've also had an attack on the Chakwal Air Base and the Rafiki Air Base. There's also one on a smaller civilian defense airport in Sukur in Sindh. So at least about 4 locations which are air facilities have been hit by India, both in drone attacks as well as missile attacks. Again, medium-range missiles that have been launched, air-to-surface missiles. Let me go back to our report. Aman is also joining us. Aman, again, just putting this into perspective for our viewers. So up until last night, till that IMF announcement happened, till about midnight or so, Pakistan was sending these exploratory drones, these probing missions. At least on the first night, none of them seemed to have explosives attached. Last night, there seemed to be explosives with some of those drones. But post-midnight or so, this dramatic escalation by the Pakistani Air Force to try and target specifically some forward Indian air bases, and now India in response hitting back and successfully targeting some Pakistani Air Force air bases. This is now a definitive climbing off the escalation ladder. Put it into perspective for our viewers.
Well, absolutely, Zaka. What government sources just told me that, when we attacked Pakistan during Operation Sindoor, we did not target any military installation. These were all terror targets under Operation Sindoor. It is Pakistan which started off 2 days back, by first attacking our military installations, trying to send these drones, to attack the Jammu airport, the other Bhatinda air station, which was mentioned yesterday in the briefing as well, that Pakistan tried to target. It is Pakistan which started it, but yes, over the last 2 nights, what the drones which were sent by Pakistan were more, as you were correctly saying, not were armed, many were not armed. These was most of an intel exercise to assess the capability of our air defense systems, more like a recce missions, which government sources are saying the real attack was kept off till the IMF bailout happened. Soon after the IMF bailout has happened last night, Pakistan has actually launched its operation by trying to target our air bases, and that is why India has retaliated and done this big strike, especially at the Rawalpindi Air Force Base, because that is a major Air Force base of Pakistan. By attacking that, India has shown its capability that Pakistan should immediately de-escalate, because what Pakistan is doing is actually to escalate the situation by trying to target our Air Force bases, our military stations. India did not do that in Operation Sindoor. Our strike was only against the terrorist infrastructure. But Pakistan, by its response, especially today morning, and this news that a ballistic missile was fired towards Delhi is an open, I would say, Zaka, proclamation of war by Pakistan. And, India will respond in greater strength now. That is what sources are telling me, that India will not stop now unless Pakistan stops, because we are committed to defend our military installations, and this kind of an attack by Pakistan will be responded very, very strongly. And we'll hear that, Zaka, from the FS at 10 a.m.
All right, so the Foreign Secretary briefing is going to be at 10 a.m. Likely that he will be flanked by both the Indian Air Force and Indian Army officers, the lady officers. Let's try and bring you up to speed with what India has done in response overnight. It has hit multiple air bases. The biggest one, of course, is the Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi. Rawalpindi, of course, is where the general headquarters of the Pakistan Army is based. This is the heart of the Pakistani Fauj, and it has hit the biggest airbase in Rawalpindi, the Noor Khan airbase. It's also hit an airbase in Chakwal, that's also in Punjab. There have been smaller drone attacks in the outskirts of Islamabad. We've had a couple of attacks in Narowal, in Lahore, in Sheikhpura, etc. There's also the Rafiki airbase in Shorkat, which is in southern Punjab. This has also been hit. So 3 major air bases from Noor Khan and Murid Air Base in Chakwal, the one in Rawalpindi, the Shorkot Air Base, the Rafiki Air Base, and there is a smaller airport, the Sukur Airport in Sindh. So Punjab and Sindh, these are the 2 heartland provinces. They make up for the bulk of Pakistan. Both of those places have been hit. Some of these smaller blasts have been through what they call loitering munitions, these suicide drones, these LMS drones. But some of the bigger attacks on the Air Force stations, we can show that Noor Khan base attack, the Rawalpindi Air Base attack, that was through a major ballistic missile. We're also getting more breaking news. This, of course, in response to what Pakistan has tried to do in India, getting breaking news that there have been at least 3 blasts that have been reported in Udhampur at the military base there. It's again one of our forward bases. There has been some degree of damage. The damage assessment is being done right now. There has been shelling, and this is, of course, keeping the LOC active and hot. There's been massive heavy artillery shelling that's been going on across Surankot, Jammu, Naushera, as well as Rajouri. Let me go across to Ishan with more details on this. So Ishan, the activity, the heavy artillery shelling is happening now, not just across the LC, but also happening across the international border. Akash has more on that. So Akash, Udhampur Air Force Station, I believe, has suffered some damage. What the extent of the damage is, we don't know. They're assessing that right now. But more importantly, there's also heavy artillery fire across the international boundary, Surankot, Jammu, Naushera, as well as the Poonch Rajouri sector.
Right, so a ceasefire violation is there, at the LC, but yes, Udhampur was one target, and Manoj Gupta is, reporting, in fact, that how, Udhampur has got hit, in fact, but in fact, there were sounds in the Udhampur, and there we have the headquarters of the Northern Army Command, and that's why it is very crucial place. It was on target, in fact, day before yesterday. In fact, yesterday it was on target, but we have no confirmation of the hit. But yes, 3, sounds have been heard, in fact, from this particular location. Also, Zaka, in Jammu, I'm learning about a civilian location being hit. They are targeting civilian population, while the attack on the Air Force station or the air base was thwarted. I'm learning that in Jammu, we have some civilian casualty possibly. Injuries, or I should say, in some time from now, we'll have confirmation. But we have air sirens once again here in Jammu, and Zaka, they are today they are launching the ballistic missiles. We know that how they have Fatah series, which has got 120 kilometers of range, and they possibly have been, launching the Fatah missiles. And in fact, there is a plan of further escalation, given the fact that DG ISPR, addressed the press conference and, said a number of things which, in fact, have not been confirmed by Indian Armed Forces. At around 10 a.m. we'll be having confirmation. But yes, artillery fire has been going on in Srinagar. The explosive sounds are, in fact, very much there. In fact, have been heard by the locals, and Ishan has been reporting from there. In Poonch area, shelling has been happening at the line of control, where we have reported that how civilian population was targeted, a Gurudwara was targeted. In Rajouri as well.
Okay, Akash, just stay on with us. I'm going to come back to you in just 1 second. I want to bring our viewers up to speed and give them a degree of reassurance as well that Pakistan has been attempting to hit multiple Indian Air Force bases, forward air bases, but the good news that I can share with you is that all are safe. There's been relatively minor damage that has happened. No casualties, no fatalities in any of these installations. The Pathankot forward air base, the Jammu Air Force Station, the Udhampur Air Force Station, all are safe. That is the word that we have from top government sources. All three of our forward air bases are safe. All personnel have been accounted for. Whatever minor damage assessment is going on, but all three air bases are safe. Arunima has more on this. So Arunima, that's the big picture. Pakistan trying to attack India's forward air bases. All of them are safe. In retaliation, India targeting some of Pakistan's air bases. The Noor Khan air base up in Rawalpindi is one of the biggest that they have in the country, and that has been hit badly. You can see from those pictures. Arunima.
Successfully targeting Pakistan is what we are hearing as well. One must underline that officially at 10 a.m. we're expecting location by location, coordinate by coordinate briefing by the Ministry of External Affairs. Most likely Foreign Secretary will take the podium once again, along with the two officers from the Indian Army and the women officers from the Indian Army and the Air Force. But what we are being told is that even though Pakistan attempted to attack Pathankot, they attempted to carry out attacks in Udhampur and also in Jammu. All these three air bases, the air assets were targeted, but Indian Air Defence managed to thwart all these three attacks at Jammu, Udhampur, Pathankot. No damage done. All our assets are safe. There's no casualty, no injury to any personnel present in the in the air base complex.
All right. Arunima, we'll try and come back to you as you try and, look, reporters are spread all across the country, particularly in some of these points that have been hit or attempted to be hit by Pakistan. There has been cross LC as well as cross IB firing. This is heavy artillery shelling that Pakistan has been undertaking for the last couple of nights at least. In the Jammu, Poonch, Rajouri, that sector, in Surankot, in Naushera, as well as in Rajouri, overnight there's been heavy artillery shelling. Ishan is there with us with more details on that. So just break this down for us. There's been an attempt to hit some of the forward air stations. All of those have been thwarted, but at the same time, Pakistan is also using heavy artillery fire, both across the LC as well as across the IB.
Well, absolutely right, Zaka. Even it started yesterday before the sunset. Generally, they would fire towards Indian positions after sunset, but yesterday they started firing at around 4:30, and then India had to retaliate. This is happening in Uri, this is happening in Keran, Tangdar, Kupwara. Every place in line of control has been impacted by the ceasefire violation. People have been moved, people have been taken out to safer locations and safer shelters, and now we're hearing that the exchange is still happening on the line of control. Look, what we have also heard is that there have been, at least 3 sounds that have been heard in Srinagar, which has woken up people. We're getting messages from people, but we should tell our viewers that there's no need to panic, because there's a lot of panic around after hearing those sounds around Srinagar and other parts as well. As a possibility that they might be also trying to hit India's important assets in Jammu and Kashmir. Yesterday, they tried to attack through drones by sending drones to a couple of locations which are very important for the defense forces, but they were immediately the air defense system ensured that they are brought down. Sources told us at least 8 drones were seen around Srinagar, Baramulla and Avantipur, which hosts one of the big air bases of Indian Air Force in Udhampur. So they try to attack the vital assets.
All right, so Ishan, we'll come back to you. There's some forward air bases, including Udhampur, Pathankot, I believe even Adampur, again in Haryana, which is again a forward airbase, has also been tried to be hit. Akash, what are top Ministry of Defence officials, Indian Army, Indian Air Force officials telling you? Clearly, I think Pakistan is climbing the escalation ladder, no doubt about it. That has been the attempt. The attempt has also been to try and target some of India's forward air bases and Air Force stations. All of those attempts have been thwarted by India. India, in response, of course, has successfully carried out major strikes from the Noor Khan Air Base to the Chakwal Air Base to the Rafiki Air Base. Tell us what you're picking up from top defense sources. Like I said, the attempts at the Air Force stations, the forward Air Force stations in Udhampur, in Pathankot, in Jammu and Sirsa, in all these 4 places have been thwarted by India's air defense systems.
Right, you rightly pointed out the Air Force stations in Jammu and Pathankot specifically are safe, and in fact I am learning that there is in fact some sort of damage in some civilian infrastructure. We'll get it confirmed by the civilian authorities as well. But till now, all attempts in fact have been thwarted, and Zaka armed forces in fact are very much capable and ready. This is what the defense sources are telling us. In fact, at around 10 a.m. we'll get the official word as to what they did last night, and also what is the sort of retaliation that they are planning now, given the fact that Pakistan is launching ballistic missiles and has shown that they want to escalate it further. Zaka, we have been seeing that how from last 48 hours, in fact in the last 72 hours, a number of things have happened. Specifically, we talk about the current times. Yesterday it was happening in the night hours, but today, in the early morning hours, we have been seeing these attacks specifically targeted towards Udhampur and Jammu, because in Udhampur we have one military base, and there we have constant sounds here. In fact, in Jammu, ballistic missile is what has been tried here in Jammu as well. It was tried for Delhi, it was tried for one location in Haryana, very crucial location in Haryana. I'm not putting out the details right now, but very crucial location is being targeted there in Haryana as well. It has been thwarted, all safe. In fact, as far as the assets are concerned, so all our air assets are safe. In fact, they have been trying, the core headquarters of Leh, I'm told, and in fact last night it was tried, but it was thwarted once again. Air defense is in play. In Udhampur, we are learning, several, sounds, in fact, but we have no confirmation on the sort of explosions that are being reported from that particular location. In Punjab also, they have been trying, they have been launching their ballistic missiles for Punjab. In fact, especially in Pathankot, also because of the sort of air defense we have in Pathankot, they might have some sort of input of the sort of platforms that we have in Pathankot, and that's the reason why Pathankot is being targeted, and is a very important Air Force establishment there that we have in Pathankot, and also in Srinagar, Zaka, launches are there. And we have been learning that since ceasefire violation is happening throughout the LC, so army is also retaliating to that. We are having ceasefire violation in Rajouri, Poonch, Mendhar, and in fact in Kathua also I'm learning that violation is there. But since we have the international border there, so we are waiting for the confirmation BSF, whether or not BSF is engaged in any sort of firing, because till now it is limited more on LC, line of control. In Uri and in other areas of the Kashmir, we have been learning about the ceasefire violation, but specifically in Poonch we have this heavy shelling going on.
Okay, I want to bring our viewers up to speed on what Pakistan has attempted to do over the last 6 hours or so, and this is specifically right after the amp up of the IMF bailout announcement that happened. So here are some of our forward Air Force stations and air bases. Udhampur, of course, is the headquarters of the Indian Army's Northern Command. Massive military station there. It's the headquarters, like I said. It is, of course, very critical for the entire Jammu region as well as the Poonch Rajouri region. But Udhampur, there's been some attempt by Pakistan to try and cause damage at the Air Force station there, at the military base there, but that has been thwarted. Also at the Jammu Air Force Station, there has been an attempt by the Pakistanis to try and attack the Air Force Station. Again, I can report to you there is very little, minimal damage there. The Air Force Station is very much functional. Pathankot is one of our forward air bases, one of the largest in the country. It's on the outskirts of Pathankot city. It is literally on the border with Pakistan. Remember, in 2016, it was the Pathankot Air Force Station that was attacked in a terrorist attack. Of course, that after that attack, India tried to give access to an ISI team for a joint investigation. That investigation really did not go any further. This is a massive Air Force station, one of the biggest, one of our forward air bases. And then, of course, there is the Sirsa Air Station as well, part of the Western Command of the Indian Air Force. So these 4 installations have been tried to be breached by Pakistan overnight. All of it has been unsuccessful. I can report to you that all of our forward air bases, Air Force stations and military bases are safe. If at all there is minimal damage, assessment of which is being done in Udhampur, which is of course the headquarters of Indian Army's Northern Command. I want to go across to Arunima. So Arunima, paint the picture for us at about 6:30 as our viewers are waking up to this Saturday morning. It seems very clear that Pakistan has attempted to go up the escalation ladder. They want to try and take this to the next level. They've been sending in missiles, they've been sending in drones that are fitted with explosives, trying to take out some of India's air bases. All of those attempts have been thwarted. India, in response, has taken out, I'm given to understand, at least 3 frontline air bases of the Pakistan Air Force. What is the big picture this Saturday morning?
Yes, so the source-based information that we have, first thing first, Indians should just have trust in our defence forces. It's all good, it's all safe. Attempts that were made at Pathankot, Udhampur, Jammu, all attempts thwarted. There was an attempt and misadventure towards the national capital of Delhi as well, over Sirsa. I think even that has been, the Fateh missile has been intercepted. So that national capital is safe as well. But what is it that we have done in terms of retaliatory action in Pakistan? Some details just coming in. What we are being told by sources is that there was a calibrated and purposeful military target hit, and the adversary has got a bloody nose after those 26 locations in India that Pakistan targeted last night as well. The Noor Khan Air Base, it was hit. We have been reporting this since morning, Zaka. The strikes have happened near the vicinity of Joint Staff Headquarters at Chakala as well. So there is source-based confirmation coming to that. The jugular of Pakistan, the 14 Corps with 10 and 11 Division in Lahore, that has been targeted, and we are specifically being told that Lahore was struck because they were trying to strike Amritsar. Of course, our air defence took down the attempts against Amritsar as well, but in retaliation, Lahore was struck. Assets of the 15th Division at Sialkot has been activated, is also what our forces are learning, but they are fully prepared. But Siddhant is also here with me. If you can give me a moment, I want to get in his views. What has happened overnight, the ramifications of it as far as diplomatic quarters are concerned?
Well, you know, Arunima, I look at it, in fact, Zaka was also pointing out, they were waiting for the IMF bailout, and there's no doubt about it. There were a lot of international pressure which India could manage to build, you know, on the committee which sanctions it. There is no vote provision there. In fact, India has abstained. IMF has taken note of India's abstention. But how I look at it is in a way that, you know, what they did yesterday was perhaps a recce. This is what I was told. They sent their drones, whether they were armed or they were not armed, I really don't have much idea about it, but 300 and 400 drones were sent just to locate our air defense systems, and perhaps we fooled them again.
Yes, I can add information to that. 500 drones across 24 locations. Most did not have weapon, looked like a surveillance and prodding exercise.
Yes, and you know what we really fooled them yesterday. In fact, I was told by top sources in government of India, we even didn't use all our air defense systems. We shot them down with the aircraft guns. This is what I'm being told, and you know that was a recce which they did yesterday. They created a lot of panic. They created a lot of noise around it. In fact, there was to camouflage their operation yesterday night. What they did was they did a press conference. They invited foreign media. In fact, they you know I was going through all that content last evening, Arunima. So you know they kind of said that what India is doing, you know they kind of they did spread lie against India in those press conferences. You know that was kind of a camouflage they wanted to do. But the idea was to struck India today, Arunima, and you know we thwarted all their attempts. Perhaps what Arunima is reporting for us is that all our bases are safe, and we have hit them harder this time around.
Yes. So that I think the body language, Zaka, I once again want you to point out to that Rajnath Singh picture that we got yesterday morning with the 3 service chiefs and the Chief of Defence Staff. The CDS was present, the Defence Secretary was present. That showed, combat uniform, all 3 chiefs were in there, but the body language was confidence, they were smiling, and that is, I think, because they were prepared. They were quite aware of what Pakistan was up to and they were prepared, and that preparation has held us in good stead early this morning.
All right, so I can also report to you that there was some attempt to try and disrupt the civil as well as the technical airport in Jammu. Those attempts have been thwarted by the Indian air defense systems. Remember, so the big picture is Pakistan has been trying to take out some of India's forward military bases as well as some forward air force stations. The attempt has been on some of the biggest ones. Pathankot is one of the biggest and a forward air base that we have. It was also the scene of the 2016 terror attack. That attack has been thwarted. There was some attempt at the Jammu Air Force Station. That has also been thwarted. And then, of course, the Air Force Station in Sirsa, which has also been thwarted. In response, India has attacked the Noor Khan Air Base, of course, which earlier used to be called the Chakala Air Base of Pakistan, one of the biggest just in Rawalpindi, in the heart of the general headquarters, is barely a few kilometers away, the general headquarters of the Pakistan military. So this hits right at the heart of the Pakistani military. But I can report to you that whether it was Udhampur, whether it was Jammu, whether it was Sirsa, whether it was Pathankot, whether it was some of these forward air force stations that India has, the attempt by Pakistan has been foiled. India has retaliated in good measure and targeted some very frontline air force stations of Pakistan. There has been, of course, increased shelling as well, heavy artillery shelling both across the line of control as well as across the international border. There has been some shelling in some civilian areas in Jammu, but I can report to you, so far at least, there are no confirmations on any civilian casualties yet. Akash is also through with us. Akash, so where you are in Jammu, there's been an attempt to try and hit the Air Force Station there, but that has been negated. What are you hearing in terms of where all India has hit Pakistan, particularly the Noor Khan Air Base, which used to be the Chakala Air Base before, one of the biggest. It's right in the heart of Rawalpindi. It's close to their general headquarters. That would not have gone well. And those pictures, that video, I think somebody there, that's the third picture that you're seeing on the right of your screen, somebody capturing that on your mobile phone saying, Bhaijan, they've hit the Noor Khan Air Base. Just walk us through what India has done in response to this very hot night between both countries.
Right. So Noor Khan Air Base, you rightly pointed out in Chakala of Rawalpindi, near Islamabad, has got critical air assets. Zaka, I was mentioning it earlier that how their transport aircrafts as well as their military fighter jets are very much there. They're operating there, several drones in fact from there, and we have been told that in fact, the air assets in that particular Air Force stations were on target and have been hit successfully. And also, Shorkot Air Force Air Base, in fact, which is in Punjab, it has got JF-17 Thunder aircraft, F-7PG, and several other air assets as well. It was hit, and in fact, we are not learning about the airstrip, but yes, the air assets was on target, and the target was successfully hit. In fact, we are learning about Murid Air Base, that is in Chakwal of Punjab. This is a smaller air base, but is technically important air base, and we have been told that primarily supports training and secondary operations. And the drone attack that was launched towards India was very much supported from this particular Air Force station, and we have been told that it has got fighter jets and possibly some drones as well, and it was successfully targeted by Indian forces, Indian Armed Forces. So these 3 Air Force stations, we have got confirmation for several air assets, and in fact the infrastructure was on target and it was successfully hit by the Indian Armed Forces. Also in retaliation, now Pakistan is trying to make a dent, and in fact is trying to hit our Air Force stations, but they are not successful till now. And our air defense is very much working, 80 guns, and in fact the the systems that we have is very much working. It's the daytime now. We have been seeing the escalation particularly in the night time from last 24 to 48 hours, but will it continue in the daytime as well? What will be the next future course of action as far as India is
Akash,
concerned?
I'm sorry to interrupt. The image that I'm showing on the left is also from Jammu. It's a civilian area. There is a temple called the Shambhu temple in Jammu. We're given to understand there's been a projectile that's hit. We don't know if it's a drone or a missile, but a projectile has hit just outside the temple. No casualties. That is the important thing. You can see the remnants of the wreckage there. This is mobile phone footage that's been shot by one of the individuals there. You can see the wreckage that's strewn all over the place. This is called the Shambhu temple in Jammu. Again, the good news is that there is no casualties there. There you can see the main gate, the pillars leading into the temple. So on the outside perimeter of the temple complex, there's been a projectile hit. Again, the good news being that there is no reports of any civilian casualties in the Shambhu temple attack. Aman is also joining us. Again, I want to go big picture for our viewers who are tuning in a little past 6:30 this morning, this Saturday morning. There has been a visible amping up by Pakistan. India has retaliated. Pakistan's attempts have been foiled. The attempt was to try and target some of our forward air bases in Pathankot, in Jammu, the military station in Udhampur, etc. But all of that has been foiled, Aman. In response, India is hit back with a combination of drones as well as missiles. And some of the Air Force station attacks in Pakistan have been very, very successful. What are you hearing from top government sources?
The big picture that we're hearing is that the government is very, very clear that April 22nd was the original escalation by Pakistan. India responded to that escalation through Operation Sindoor, and our attack was on the on the terror infrastructure in Pakistan, the terror headquarters in Pakistan of Jaish, of the LET, of the Hizbul, and this was because Pakistan did not act against them, and over 100 terrorists were killed in the Indian strike. For India, the offensive had ended there. India did not want to take it further beyond there. India very clearly said we did not target any civilian population, neither any Pakistani military infrastructure in Operation Sindoor. The escalation the Indian government feels is now coming from Pakistan, first through these drone attacks for the last 2 nights, which now seem to be, Zaka, more of recce missions. These drone attacks seem to be more to assess our strength of our air defense systems, our alertness, where are our air defense systems located, maybe also to try and exhaust maybe some of our air defense systems before the actual attack comes. Indian government is also now seemingly very clear that Pakistan decided to wait for the IMF bailout before launching its big strike, because it did not want its IMF bailout to be jeopardized in any manner. And this shows that soon after the IMF bailout, Pakistan cleared its airspace today morning and has launched an attack through ballistic missiles, not only at our forward Air Force bases in Pathankot and the Udhampur, it has also tried to attack our major cities. So this is a major escalation by Pakistan. That is what India is saying. India never targeted earlier Pakistan's military infrastructure, but because Pakistan has now upped in a way the game, India is not shying back, and this attack on the airbase in Rawalpindi by India is to show how deep India can hit. And I think India is still trying to tell Pakistan to get the message to de-escalate. But if Pakistan does not de-escalate from here, Zaka, Indian government sources are telling me that we will also not stop now, and Pakistan will be taught a lesson.
All right, so our reporters are spread across the length and breadth. Ishan is joining us from Srinagar. Akash is joining us from Jammu. In Delhi, we have Arunima and Siddhant joining us from South Block. There's going to be a briefing by the Foreign Secretary at 10 a.m. Last 3 days, the briefing has been done by the Foreign Secretary along with the 2 young women officers of the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force. Siddhant is also joining us from South Block. What are you hearing, Siddhant, in terms of what the MEA has to say? The briefings have been going on by the Foreign Secretary. Any word you're picking up on, our international players trying to intervene? I believe there was a statement put out by the G7. The Saudi Deputy Foreign Minister, who was here in Delhi a couple of days ago, he was in Islamabad yesterday. And this visible upping the ante by Pakistan has happened after the announcement of the IMF, the bailout announcement of $1 billion. What are you hearing from MEA?
Well, that's right, Zaka. In fact, just a short while back, Zaka, we have been told that press briefing by Foreign Secretary, which was expected to take place at 10 a.m., has again got delayed. In fact, they have told us that they're going to inform us again when and where this press briefing will take place today. Perhaps, as Arunima was also pointing out, that the ops are still going on. The focus is on Sky at this point in time, Zaka. And in fact, yesterday India also decided to close Kartarpur corridor, Zaka. Perhaps that was an announcement which Foreign Secretary made, because India knew that this is coming. This is coming. The time Pakistan will secure the bailout package from IMF, they are gonna hit us. Day before yesterday, Zaka, what happened post midnight? Perhaps they sent more than 300 UAVs. Perhaps we have also been told that those UAVs were not even loaded, were not even armed. Those UAVs were only sent to locate our air defense systems. Perhaps we knew about it, and we did not use our best of the systems in place. In fact, we shot them down using aircraft gun. This is what I'm being told. In fact, since then, India was preparing that what they did day before yesterday was a recce visit. Perhaps they are going to hit India, and they could target forward bases, Pathankot, Jammu, etc., those locations. So India was fully prepared for it. As you rightly pointed out, at a diplomatic level, perhaps India is not escalating. Foreign Secretary again reiterated yesterday that the first and the only escalation was the 22nd April attack in Pahalgam. India is only responding to the escalation by Pakistan. In fact, yesterday in the press briefing also, Foreign Secretary highlighted, Zaka, that how religious sites have been targeted in Poonch. There's a convent school which has been targeted.
Yes, Siddhant, I'm going to come back to you. We're getting more information, courtesy Manoj Gupta, our investigations editor, that a bunch of missiles have been fired. I can't reveal the exact number, but a bunch of missiles have been fired from the Srinagar airbase. That too, Pakistan has tried to attack, but there is very minimal damage that has happened there. So from the Srinagar airbase, missiles have been sent, and a Pak Air Force jet, at least one we can confirm, possibly more than one, but definitely one Pakistan Air Force jet has been shot down by missiles that have been sent from the Srinagar airbase. So that is a big development. One Pakistan Air Force jet being downed by India. Remember, Pakistan has a combination of the F-16s, which are the American fighter jets, the fourth generation fighter jet, and also a combination of the JF-17 and the J-10. The JF-17 is the 4.5 generation Chinese fighter jet, and the J-10 the 4th generation fighter jet. So it's a combination of Chinese as well as American military jets, fighter jets that the Pakistan Air Force has. We don't know which of this has been brought down, but at least two Pakistani Air Force jets have been downed by India in missile strikes that have been launched from the Srinagar Air Force Station. Arunima, what more details are you hearing? There was supposed to be an army briefing earlier this morning. I believe there wasn't much information that came from there, but at 10 o'clock, the Foreign Secretary is expected to brief the press. But this big development that we are breaking right now on our screen, at least two Pakistani Air Force fighter jets have been brought down by missiles that have been fired from the Srinagar Air Force Station.
I think this was the air operation which led to the delay and subsequent postponement of the briefing. We got a message early in the morning around 5 a.m., quarter to 5, that by 5:30 there will be a briefing in the lawn, which you can see in my frame in South Block. But when we reached here, we were told that the air operations were still on, and there were intense operations that were going on, and therefore it's not feasible to brief and put out the correct picture at this stage, because it was a developing situation, it was an ongoing situation. We were also told that while the entire focus is on the sky, it's the air operations which are giving a bloody nose to Pakistan. On ground, there is intermittent firing that is going on along the line of control, and now I'm hearing that in Rajouri there is intense artillery fire. Some civilian houses in Dhangri have also taken the hit. So Pakistan is trying to cater to its own domestic constituency by targeting civilians. First they have targeted civilians in Poonch, now similar exercise going on in Uri and in Rajouri as well. So while their air assets are being taken down after their misadventure, they're trying to respond on the ground by artillery firing, which is also being responded to very strongly by the Indian Defence Forces.
All right, so there's going to be a briefing. We know that two Pakistani fighter jets have been shot down by India. What these jets are, I think we should hold back on that, at least the make of these jets, what these jets are. But definitely two fighter jets of the Pakistan Air Force have been brought down by missiles that have been fired by India. All right, we're going ahead and saying that these are Pakistani F-16s. I want to be very, very responsible, very measured and restrained in our reporting. that India has shot down 2 Pakistan Air Force jets. Despite all of this fog of war and all of this confusion that happened a couple of nights ago, we can now report to you early Saturday morning there has been a dramatic escalation, clearly an attempt by Pakistan to climb up the escalation ladder. They have gone up a couple of notches, a couple of rungs in that escalation ladder. India has responded measure for measure. Pakistani Air Force jets, 2 F-16s, have been shot down by missiles that have been launched from the Srinagar Air Force Station. Akash, what are you hearing from your top defense sources? PAF aircraft down.
I have no independent confirmation on that. Manoj Gupta is bringing us this input where, he has been reporting that how 2 F-16s, have been in fact brought down by the Indian Air Force. So we'll wait for the official confirmation as well. But this is big, Zaka. This is big. We have seen that how, F-16 was very much there, a part of the sort of, activities that happened in 2019 when the dogfight actually happened between MiG-21 and F-16. And even at that time, we know the whole episode of Wing Commander Abhinandan, but this time around, we are learning that, we have shot down these F-16s. I'll check for with the Air Force as well for the independent confirmation. But Manoj Gupta has been reporting that how 2 F-16s, in fact, have been downed by, the Indian Air Force. In fact, we have got several sort of videos, that are, in fact, somewhere confirming, the debris and, in fact, some sort of smoke, coming from a distant place. Ishan has been reporting this. But it is big, Zaka, given the fact that Pakistan Air Force, consider, itself as a superior force. They have always challenged, Indian armed forces and, in fact, Indian Air Force specifically for the dogfight because they think that their machines are superior, their training is superior. And this is one development where, it is a slap on their face where, they have been trying the military establishment, military infrastructure in different places. Here in India, none of them is successful. But this time around, we are learning that in Srinagar, at least 2 F-16 aircraft have been downed by the Indian Air Force, Zaka.
So 2 Pakistan Air Force jets have been downed by the missiles that have been hit by the missiles from the Srinagar Air Force Station. So bringing you up to speed, the big picture that Pakistan has escalated over the last 6 or 7 hours post midnight after the announcement by the International Monetary Fund that they were releasing the tranche of $1 billion, part of the $7 billion package that Pakistan has managed to procure from the IMF, emergency bailout money. Right after that, and right after the Deputy Foreign Minister of Saudi Arabia left last night, there's been a dramatic escalation by Pakistan. Multiple attempts at forward air bases, at Air Force stations from Jammu to Pathankot, which is one of the biggest Air Force stations in northern India. In fact, it is bang on the border with Pakistan. It was also the scene of the terrorist attack that happened in 2016. We're also learning that the Sirsa Air Force Station was also one of the targets of attack. But all of that, the Udhampur military station, all of that has been thwarted by India's air defense systems. And now in retaliation, India has hit and brought down 2 Pakistan Air Force jets. They've been brought down over Srinagar, is what we're given to understand. These are deferred visuals we're getting from Udhampur, and the visuals that you're seeing on the left side is India attacking the Noor Khan Air Base, which used to be called the Chaklala Air Base earlier, hosts a big military college as well. It's very close to the general headquarters, the heart of the Pakistani military. There's been a massive attack there on the Noor Khan Air Base by India in retaliation to what Pakistan tried to do overnight. Let me go back to Aman, Arunima, reporters. Aman, again, as we await the Foreign Secretary's briefing in about 3 hours' time, what's the word that you're getting in from our top defense sources? India, of course, wanting to be absolutely certain that we are the responsive authority here. We're responding to the escalation by Pakistan. It is Pakistan that is choosing to climb the escalation ladder.
Zaka, and what government sources are also saying that we were prepared for this. We knew that a major attack by Pakistan will happen. We were very, very clear that the drone attacks which were happening, on Friday night, we also saw these big drone attacks. This was mainly, Friday morning, was mainly to assess our air defense preparedness. Pakistan was waiting for the IMF bailout. This information and this intel was there with the government that the Pakistan will only launch its big strike after the IMF bailout process is over, and that is what has happened absolutely in the way India anticipated. India's defense system was at an all-time high early this morning also, and we were anticipating this to happen. That is very, very clear. India is also saying that, this upping of this escalation by firing these Fatah series missiles, not just on our forward air bases like Pathankot and Jammu and Udhampur, but also at our major cities, especially Delhi, is a major escalation by Pakistan. This shows that Pakistan's intentions are not good. We have to safeguard our territory, we have to safeguard our assets, and that is why we've hit at the heart of the Pakistani army in Rawalpindi, the Chokala air base. A very, very secure facility inside Pakistan which India has managed to hit. This shows that India is giving this warning to Pakistan that you need to stop here, because if you escalate further, India then will not stop, because India considered Operation Sindoor as it's a major operation, in retaliation to what happened on April 22nd in Pahalgam. But this is now showing that Pakistan, Zaka, is in no mood to stop, and India is responding in equal measure.
So there's also visuals we're showing on the top right of your screen, which is from Jammu. It's a Shambhu temple. There's debris of a projectile that you can see strewn all over the place. This is just on the outer perimeter of the temple. Let me also go to Arunima. Arunima, who's in South Block for us. Arunima, what are you hearing? What are you hearing from your top government sources? This Pakistani jets being downed, is a huge statement by India-Pakistan Air Force jets that have been shot down over Srinagar airspace. But the attempt by Pakistan to try and target some of our forward military stations, forward air bases, that has been thwarted. And in response, India has targeted, among others, the Noor Khan Air Base or the Chaklala Air Base, which is one of the biggest that Pakistan has. Also the Chakwal, the Murid Air Base, again in Punjab. And you also have one more, the Rafiki Air Base. 3 air bases of Pakistan have been targeted in missile strikes by India. What more do you have?
Yes, so Zaka, they had put out a statement late last night saying that 26 places were targeted, and they're just sticking to that for now as far as official word goes. Yes, they have told us that the intense air operations are going on, but on that specific input that Manoj Gupta has about India taking down a Pakistani jet, the South Block is not confirming that as yet, and understandably so perhaps, because even day before yesterday night there was intense speculation that similarly a Pakistani jet had been down and a Pakistani pilot had been taken into custody, but India has remained non-committal. They've not confirmed, not come on record on that. So in this case also, I think they will take their time, and once they are ready to share the details, only then will they come out with an official confirmation. Because of course, even though both sides officially are just calling this a conflict, the terminology of war is not being used officially. The fact is that if that is the situation, and if you have someone in your custody, then the Geneva Convention will apply. Prisoner of war rules will apply. That perhaps is the reason why they're calibrating their next step. But Manoj Gupta is learning that the air operations has resulted in one more bloody nose for Pakistan. Their top of the line asset, their top of the line aircraft has been down. We're not taking the names and the details as yet. But there is worrying news coming in from the line of control as well. Intermittent firing is targeting civilian population there in Rajouri, in Poonch, in Uri. It has been on and off. Intermittent is what we've seen over the last 3 hours. But while India is giving them a bloody nose in the sky, they're trying to retaliate by taking out their frustration on civilians.
All right, Arunima, stay on with us. So if you're joining us at 7 o'clock, top of the hour this Saturday morning, it's been a hot night between India and Pakistan, both along the line of control as well as the international border. But the important one is the air attacks. There have been attempts by Pakistan to try and neutralize some of our forward air stations, forward military bases. Let's look at what Pakistan has attempted to do, and I'll get to what India has done, and successfully at that, in response to that. Udhampur is the headquarters of the Indian Army's Northern Command. The attempt there has been to try and neutralize the Air Force station. It's a smaller Air Force station there. Pathankot is one of the biggest. In fact, it is our forward air base. It's spread over 2,000 acres. Multiple, squadrons of our fighter jets are stationed there. It was the scene of the 2016 terror attack. Again, that has been foiled by India. In Jammu too, the Air Force station there, the Pakistanis tried to try and neutralize. Why is this happening at the level of the Air Force stations? That is the first line of defense. When countries go into conflict, when states go into conflict, the first attempt is to try and neutralize the ability of the enemy to scramble his jets. That's what Pakistan attempted to do. Sirsa too, again part of the Western Command, is one of our big Air Force bases, stationed to squadrons of the fighter jets. This is what Pakistan was attempting to do. In response, what has India done? India too has targeted Pakistan's forward air bases. Let's get out that second map. What India has done in response to what Pakistan tried to do. And you look at this map, what stands out are the air stations that India has attempted to take out. And you can see those pictures as well from the Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi. This is one of the biggest air bases that Pakistan has. It played a role in the 1965 and 1971 wars as well. This was earlier called the Chaklala Air Base. It is right in the heart of Rawalpindi. The general headquarters, Rawalpindi, is not too far from the air base. In fact, there is a famous Pakistan military college that's housed inside the Chaklala Air Base. It's now been renamed as the Noor Khan Air Base. You saw those pictures recorded by an individual, a civilian there, looking up at the big cloud of fire and smoke going up at the Noor Khan Air Base. Then further south, the Chakwal Air Base, it's called the Murid Air Base, again was active in the 65 and the 71 wars. The Chakwal Air Base too has been hit successfully by India. And then you have a smaller one in Shorkot, it's called the Rafiki Air Base. Again, a lot of transport aircraft, the C-130s, the Il-76s, they've been housed in some of these air bases. The Shorkot Air Base in southern Punjab has been hit as well. And Sukur, which is a civilian defense technical airport, Sukur has also been hit in Sindh. So basically in the heart of Punjab as well as in Sindh, these are the two biggest provinces in Pakistan. They have been successfully hit by Indian Army and by Indian Air Force. So what happens when a conflict begins? The first attempt by both parties is to try and take out the other side's air bases, because the ability not to be able to scramble jets, that is a significant tactical advantage in any conflict. So the attempt by both sides has been to try and take out each other's air bases, particularly forward air bases, render the runway unusable. That is the attempt. Once the runway becomes unusable, then it's difficult to scramble your jets, and thereby you are taking off a tactical advantage that the enemy has. That's what India has done last night to some of these forward air bases in Pakistan. Noor Khan, of course, this will have huge ramifications that are running through general headquarters, the military headquarters of Pakistan. Pakistan's attempts, whether it's in Udhampur, in Pathankot, in Jammu, in Sirsa, have been thwarted, and India in response has carried out significant damage to some of the air assets that Pakistan is hosting. Akash is there with us from Jammu, Ishan is there with us from Srinagar, Arunima in South Block, Siddhant is also joining us from South Block. Akash, first things first,